Let's start. Hello everyone and welcome to the final day of PEL. I'm Toby and well, if you watched this before, welcome back. If you haven't, this is my PUBG analysis series where we go over different regions. We've done all of PEL. We did the beginning of NPL and PKL. I'm sorry that I never got to go finish them off. We might get to go a little more into them after this week, but I've just had so many things going on. I've did all of the Chinese finals, and there's a ton of PUBG. I might do some of the Latin American games too. I know people have been asking for that, so we'll see. We'll see if we get all of that done. But for now, for today, it's gonna be PL. It's gonna be 6 games, not 5. And the only change is people that are thinking, oh my god, it's gonna be 2 Sanhok games, aren't there? But fortunately, not. So what it is, it's gonna be 2 games of Miramar to start off. It's gonna be a game of Sanhok, as usual, and then it's gonna be, instead of 2 games of Erangel that we normally see in 5 games, then the 6th game will also be Erangel. So it's gonna be 2 Miramar, 1 Sanhok, and then 3 Erangel instead of 2. Let's see. Plain. Pretty straightforward. I mean, if you're a Navi team, if you're a 7 team, if you're a Crow Crowd team, 7 Navi, Crow Crowd could just go straight north. Yeah, exactly. That's actually what they did. They just go straight north. Pretty straightforward. I wouldn't see any real big changes other than that. G2 can go where they want to. They were down here yesterday when Navi weren't there. They took their spot, but now, of course, with LSH in the flight path or the plane path, not really any reason for them not to go there. Face goes south as well. Didn't want to fly over the heads of the likes of Gamer Legion and Liquid to try and get up there. And when we look at this circle, obviously we have Los Leones in it. That's going to take a lot of space, forcing teams to probably wrap underneath or around this way. And then we have Picado. You can rotate through Picado. It's a little different with Picado than with Los Leones because, first of all, you rarely ever see more than 1 team in Picado until, I mean, if the game ends there. So having just 1 team leave is pretty simple to deal with. We've seen Knights rotate through Picado before. We've seen Ratio Edge when they come in late, like they probably will in this circle. They've rotated through Picado before. TSM has done similar rotations. They don't want to go over the top, but they've been through Picado before, or like on the side of it. So not really that hard or dangerous to rotate through, but of course you don't want to necessarily fly down this line if there's teams here. Then you can also easily make your way over the western side. So we'll see. We'll see how teams decide to rotate into this circle. Of course, a lot of open fields down here. Areas that you kind of want to avoid. Just because, I mean, driving through open fields can be pretty damn scary. And Gamer Legion, they've been contested by Liquid before. And I think this is kind of funny because no one actually lands there this time around. Gamer Legion split, but they don't have any control of the church. And yes, the church is a very, very, very valuable spot to sit in because you can see so much from that area. So now let's see. Bjorn is going to go up and he's going to take it. And the entire team goes there. And I think that's because they have a good memory of Liquid crashing them early in church. If they see that there's any way in hell they can get something going there. So Liquid, they are still looking over there. But Game of Legion says, if you're going to come here, you better damn be ready for a 4v4 fight, and I don't think Liquid wants any part of that. So Game of Legion sticks around. Liquid trying to scout further down south. I might do Juanito. I might do that. It could potentially be tomorrow. We'll figure it out later. So they split 3-way. I like this split. You can see how much control they have as opposed to Game of Legion. By sitting the way that they do here, and Game of Legion only has this, right? A lot of very, very valuable compounds. But Game of Legion, like, you know what? That church, whew, if it goes there, when it goes there, that's the spot to be in. And of course, they prioritize that. Because they know that if they send just 1 or 2 guys away, other teams will try and come contested. And as we talked about, a lot of teams, look at this. Okay, let's see. This there. Right now, if we go from the road here, let's just draw it in red so it's easier to see. Down here. Right now, inside the circle, we have 2 teams and 3 solos. But let's just say we have 2 teams. We have 7 and we have Face. And we can count in DA as well, just because they're in Leones. Watch what happens. Just look at we talked about how we don't want to go through Los Leones, but you'll most likely push underneath, right? Look at the highway this circle creates because Los Leones forces teams to wrap under. Just count the teams. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. the Desperados. N47 ends. G2. All these teams, none of them want to sit. None of them want to sit, obviously, on the edge. So look at the cluster we are causing over here of teams. We are this early on in the game, and these guys are all sitting straight up on top of each other. So very, very tough situation to be in with a, I guess, an imbalance in how the splits are between the teams. You have a huge chunk that is practically unplayed because it's very difficult to maneuver through. Of course, we have Los Leones that only has 2 players in it. So very, very difficult, and of course this is exactly where Crowcrowd goes. I mean, I love this playstyle from Crowcrowd, and I think that's part of the reason why they managed to make it through to PGC. They are so good at acknowledging or finding the quiet spots in the early circles. You rarely ever see Crowcrowd fight before circle 3, circle 4, and even if they do get shot at, they'll just get away from there. It's, some call it passive or scared or whatever, but Crowcrowd knows it's so much more valuable. Like, what would you rather do? Get 1 kill early game and lose a player doing it? Or have 0 kills but come into circle 6 or circle 5 with 4 guys alive? I think your chances of racking up points for late game is so much better. G2 split. That's a Chinese split right here. It's a Chinese split. I don't think that was on purpose either. But we'll see now. Circle goes south. But yeah, just to finish off, I think Crowcrowd, I mean, the way that Crowcrowd plays that style in a point-heavy system, but they play the placements instead early, it's very, very, very valuable. And very, very impressive. Because not a lot of teams do that. Some teams do. Navi do the same thing. You rarely ever see Navi engage early. Yep, this you could argue, I mean, they have a lot of control, right? It's not exactly a split that you would normally see. But then again, I mean, they kind of know, and again, this was not at all on purpose. It mainly happens because you can see they're all over here. They all want to rotate south initially. They all want to go down south. But then something happens here where Chris continues and Nillas goes north. I'm not sure exactly what causes this, but something does happen, and I think the main thing is that they are the last team to come in on the southern side. N47? From where? From here? They were shooting down there? I think the idea of this is that they know for a fact that there's no one out here. This is open. Oh, yeah, that was earlier though, right? That was way early. Yeah, Braxco gets down there. And then they're kind of in a situation where they don't really know what to do because they, as we said, they get caught in that cluster of teams, right? So they just have to back out. But with Chris going underneath this way, you can see initially they all want to go that way. But they know for a fact there's no one out here. They came in from El Azhar. They were the last team by miles to get into the first circle. Then, of course, they get caught in the cluster. But they know that right now, this is like their shortcut. This is the G2 highway that no one else is going to be using because everyone else is further inside the circle and they either have compounds or they have something else to play around. And I think they just know that if we just keep using this red area and avoid all these different spots, then we can use, like, we can rotate as much as we want this way and that way. Like, they just have, like we talked about when we get to late game, where if you clear a side, you can kind of, I call it pendulum. Isn't that what they're called? Those small round balls on a string where you can hypnotize people. Isn't that a pendulum? Pendule in Danish? I don't know what it is, but it's like wing, wing. You can swing as much as you want. They can do that. They know for a fact that this is open. So they have like a shortcut to the west side of the circle through that. So they stay on the northern side, and then whenever the next circle pops, Chris is not going to go aggressive. He's just going to go, this is open. Yanis is going to go, this is open. And Nils is going to go, this is open. So essentially, it's not even from there. It's actually more like... And then all the way under and over here. This is controlled by G2. Kind of. Everything that is out here is controlled by G2. And as you can see with the circle popping, as long as they hug the edge, they can go wherever they want. So Nillis can go behind. Yanis can go behind. Chris can stay and push up, and they can all meet in the middle. As long as they stay out within the area that they have control of. Now Nillis and Yanis cuts underneath. They spot ends moving. But they still know no one is further south. And therefore they can move. It makes pretty good sense, to be honest. They knew they were the last team there. And as long as they don't get beat, that's why you see them rotate so early. As long as they know that no one wraps underneath before them. Like you see, as soon as the circle pops, Yanis is going. He doesn't even care to wait for Nillis North. He has to go immediately. Like he goes pretty much before the circle even pops. If we want to use this space, we have to do it now. Because other teams will try and make a southern rotation. It's a hard shift south. Teams like especially Reciprocity. Crowcrowd as well. Now Crowcrowd are already down here, so it doesn't really matter to them. But had they been north in the previous circle, they would have done this too, right? Schoom rotations down south. It makes pretty good sense, and they are fast at executing it. So it's a good play by G2. That even though it looks like a what the fuck, it actually works out for them. Circle. Wow, that's an unfortunate shift. I don't think I watched this game, but this shift is not fun. FaZe find themselves in the middle. There's still one Desperados player in there. And then, I mean, the main issue with this circle right now is that you have this spot. This hillside is still in. I think you can count it up like that. This spot being in means that you cannot really play anything here. Because you're going to be so damn visible. You're going to be in the worst spot in the universe. Hey, Bolton. We're lose a 4v2. That's not good. D-man with the leaks. It's all good. You see, so nobody really wants to be there. They try to fight their way further through, but Knights and Liquid, they run into one another. Crowcrowd can stay on the eastern side. Again, Gamer Legion, what's the point of pushing in if you know you're going to take a fight with a team pushing in your back? Just hold them off and then push forward. They're going to take the fight to TSM. Needs to deal with them. Like, there's no GLL trying to run from, or GLL Gamer Legion trying to run from this would just be them dying somewhere else on the map. They need to take this fight with TSM. They do. Unfortunately, they don't win. Crowcrowd running in from the side, waiting for that new circle to pop. Trying to hold off Na'Vi. Like, if they can force Na'Vi back up the mountainside and then maybe allow for other teams to push them, that would be great. Because right now, Crowcrowd can't really, like, Crowcrowd cannot go anywhere. Fortunately, this is shifted out, so they don't have to worry about that. But as long as Na'Vi has the high ground control over them, they can't push anything. They have to just be in a lockdown. They need to deal with Na'Vi or force Na'Vi to consider going the other way. And that's exactly what happens. Force them to play the other direction, and then you can make a play on that. Same thing with Reciprocity. FaZe, I think right now FaZe and FaZe and DA. Have you ever played that game where you have one person standing in the middle, and the other guy's like throwing balls over, whoo, woo, woo, and he has to jump up and catch it, right? That's Reciprocity right now. They're trying to figure out which way to go, but every time they come over to DA, they'll start shooting, and then they go, oh, nope, let's go back. Oh, nope, let's go back. And they're just like forced to bounce back and forward all the time because they can't really find their entrance to the circle. So DA comes up and says, you ain't coming here, forces them into Reciprocity, and they want a third party. Great play by DA. Again, people laugh at DA all the time, but them disengaging the compound and not moving in, but knowing that they have Reciprocity on their back foot running into FaZe, that is a very, very good read by DA, and something very few teams catch in the heat of the moment. They saw DA come up, they shot at them, they forced them to go the other way. They know that FaZe is down here, and they know that's going to force a fight. They can third party it, boom, get the kills, go back to where they came from. 10 out of 10. Great play. I mean, doesn't mean that they're in a good situation now, but they just secured themselves a couple of kills with it, and essentially made more room for themselves. So good play by DA. This fight was bound to happen at some point. Na'Vi didn't want to push underneath because they knew that Ents had the compound, so they have to push over the top. Crowcrowd holds them off. DA now forced into a fight from a spot where they can't really do a whole lot, unfortunately. And FaZe is still down here. Somehow Calvin, I think he's proning inside the like the watch, not the tower, but like the watch house or whatever you call it, guard house. FaZe go down. G2 push underneath again, very open down here on the like in this whole area, so you can't really do a whole lot from there. DA over the top, getting third party. Not a lot they can do. Mithralius stays alive. Mithralius is good at staying alive. Gotta give it to him. He's like the Samty of DA. Speaking of. Always about those solo survivals. Crowcrowd, they want to take control, but G2 already have two in the middle, so they're kind of limited to their their side of the circle. Right now, they don't really have to. Whoops, they don't really have to worry about this. Right now, Krokot needs to deal with anything further away. You can see how they're splitting. They're waiting for that final circle to close on in. And if they can just have edge control like they do here, if they can have this, they can swarm together. But it still comes down to you have a ticket booth. I guess ticket booth. I guess you could call it that. This should never happen. Just right off the bat, 1v2. Not good. He goes down. All of a sudden, they're alone. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This. Okay, so wait. Let me just see that real time. How fast does it actually go? He knocks Nogi at 29:23. And knocks Tixu 1 second later. Nillas gets 2 knocks within 1 second. I mean, that's... As much as we say that should never happen, Nillas just fucked them. 2 knocks in 1 second. And it wasn't like, oh, they lined it up, so just spray there and there. No, as you can see, I don't have my my whatever you call it, like degree thingy, but this angle is not a 180, but it's more than 90 degrees. It's like 105 degrees, 110 degrees maybe. That's a pretty big wrap to do in 1 second. I don't know what exactly. I think like 120 degrees maybe, something like that. And he knocks both of them within a second. That is pretty damn impressive. Not gonna lie. And Misa is like, wait, what? And then he gets killed. So Misa obviously came down to help. And then he gets fucked by Chris on the other side. Timmy does knock him. So now we're at a 1v1. Timmy gets the flush. Nelos wins the game. Stomped. I mean, not a whole lot you can do. There's just not a whole lot you can do. Tixu played it right. You can see they come around the side together because, I mean, they're trying to wrap together. It's just those fucking people. 1 second, 2 knocks. No counterplay. You can't do anything about it. Seriously. But that was game number 1. We're gonna jump over to game number 2. Wank. I'm gonna take a sip of water. And this one is funny because what is Ratio Edge doing down here? I know that they can't get up towards Cruz del Valle, but still. Ends we've seen land south. Ends we've seen being like the Los Hijos team on the west, like southwestern circles or plains. But you can see Trifly. Trifly was flying there, like dee, and then all of a sudden someone goes, "Wait, Trifly, you're not alone, buddy." Like the Ents think they have the entire south to themselves, but G2 are here, Ratio Edge are here. 7 decides to go here when they had that one available, and that's again why I'm saying we don't know whether 7 really ever prioritized one or the other, because sometimes the plane has gone like this and they still go south. So it's not because they want to jump out early all the time. I don't know. I can't really tell you when they prioritize what. But a lot of teams tangled up on the southern side. Circle goes north, should be able to figure this one out. Rotate around. Ends, they're gonna have to wait. I mean, I don't think you'd see an early rotation from Ends. Even though Mikas is on the other side, they know that G2 will have to go first. I think that would be the case. And also, when do you ever see Ends play center early on anyway? So I mean, other than whenever the circles go out to that compound. So they're gonna chill, let G2 do their thing, I would assume, and then everyone will have to make the rotations up north. Of course, FaZe, they're gonna take that compound. Fuss is there immediately, knows the value. Knights are gonna go over here. I would assume to see, and now that's actually not necessarily going to happen because N47, normally if they're playing Val del Mar, they would try to ravel through and go up and take the, like either take this or take these. Liquid as well has been very good at coming up here. They know that Fuss FaZe prior, like whenever they see this circle, you can see it immediately. As soon as the circle pops, boom, they know. They know that Fuss is gonna leave here to go up there, and they know how they're splitting. HC in the warehouse, Uber on the northern side, and they go up here. And Uber always disengages. He will run down here and then will disengage at the first sound of fire, right? So Liquid always rotate through Monte to go up and take this. This time around, though, they don't. Which is still fun to me. But then again, it is, I guess, more on the edge than what we've seen in some of those western circles before. Desperados push down towards EMT. Not going to be the fight early on that they probably would have wanted. And Crow Crowd splitting on each side, of course, can get plenty of info from where they're located, but not really spots that they would want to play coming into the late game. N47 trying to rotate around DA. Going to work out for both of them, hopefully. Yeah, should be able to get out of there alive. And now let's see with this next circle popping. Where are we going? TSM, they've already locked this down. Let's say if the circle goes north, this is ours. Alongside Navi. They're just sitting up on the northern side and saying, we got this if it goes north. Unfortunately, it does not. And I'm going to draw a spot up for you. I've drawn this spot a billion times before. But I'm going to draw it 1,000,000,001 time. There's nothing within this area that you can play as long as these compounds are in. I'm just saying it now to keep it in mind for the late game. Cannot play anything in this square that I just drew. There's a lot of those areas around this map, around this circle, but let's just see. Rotations around the south, you don't want to, again, once you're here, going up here, there's nowhere you can stop in between. So if you're running into a team, you kind of just have to commit to it. So that's why we'll see all these teams up north, instead of going, woohoo, they rev. There's absolutely nothing for them to come for, trying to go through the middle. And they have all the compounds on the west side. You have the city, the east side, I mean, sorry. You have the city on the west side. There's so much more to play from out on the sides than try and rotate over the middle, where you have a big open hill, power grid, which is most likely going to be taken, and then a downhill drive into all these compounds that will just like blow you up, essentially. So it makes perfect sense that all these teams wrap around, which means that even though it was a southern shift, we actually have more teams in the south now than we normally do. Like normally we'd see a concentration of teams up north with not that many on the southern side. But Circle goes back up north, and oh, D-Man, by the way, if you're still here, are you still here, D-Man? I want to give you a huge compliment. Because I remember watching this game with Hayes, and you said something that was insanely... It's just something that I know most people don't think about. It's a little later in the game, but I want to bring it up now while I remember it. We were in a situation, like the game goes up here, and you call out, oh, this is like the game. Or like, this is like the match at Grand Slam with Navi being up there. And I was like, you know what, Demon, that's fucking 600 IQ. The fact that you remember them being in that exact same spot, fighting Rumblers in that exact same spot, I was like... That was probably I don't want to say that was, I mean, it's just something that nobody else would have ever either A, remembered or cared to bring up. But it made so much sense for, I mean, I guess it kind of only made sense for the people that also watched the Rumblers Navi game then, but it was just a perfect thing to say. And I was like, damn, D-Man, that was fucking smart. So thank you. That was, honestly, I was just clapping my hands. Me and Hayes were watching it. We were both like, that's probably like the best thing you could bring up in that situation at all. And it was really smart. So that was very nice. Very, very nice. I don't normally, it's not to sound rude, but I don't normally listen too much to the casting. I normally just care a lot about what happens. But this just had me completely like what do you say? Pacified? Passive. I don't know, for a couple of like 10 seconds. It was really, really smart. Yeah, well, exactly. If you cast it yourself, it makes more sense. It was just really, really relevant, like extremely relevant in the situations. That was very, very, very nice. I'm glad that you're here, so I could tell you, because that was extremely well. And they played that like everything, because I remember when I was doing the Weatherman stuff, or post analysis, whatever we ended up calling it, segment, that was exactly the thing that I was talking about. And everything they do leading into that play, they do the exact same way. And I was like, god damn, D-Man, freaking genius. Now one thing, and this is exactly the same that I said in my analysis if you watched that, we just talked about how it was a southern shift, but because this whole freaking thing is here, I'm going to draw it up like this whole downhill in that direction, hillside is there, all the teams rotate around. Makes perfect sense. So all of a sudden, we go from a center/northern focused circle to a very southern heavy circle. We still have this area in play. southern heavy circle, right? If you draw the line through the middle, there's more teams down here than there's up on the north. Now this circle popping, because just the one I avoid, this area, because people want to get away from here early, and there really isn't, like, this is just one big downhill slant in that direction. Like, this essentially becomes the same situation. This is an area I want to avoid. It's downhill there. This is downhill there. And you don't want to get caught in the field in the middle, so everybody tries to get over on the other side again. Everybody wants to get back on the same side they were in before. And look at the south. Everybody's just rotated south. Now they all come around north again because nobody wants to be down here. It's just funny how we completely mirror, like literally 2 circles after each other. We full on mirror. Whoa. And another thing is, and that's what I know that FaZe knows, this mountain top right here, even though you can technically get up on it, everybody knows. Everybody knows. It's gonna shift away from there in circle 4. So do you think that's why they went up there? I think so. Because if you try to fit circle 4 in on the southern side, if this is going to be excluded, can't be down here. Literally has to go there. Everybody sends it. And that's exactly what... Okay, it was not exactly, but I think I drew up that circle as best as I could. It has to shift away from this thing. And if you have this in, and you look at how big this circle is, it can't be anywhere else. Like, this circle literally cannot be anywhere else. When we talk about water shifts in circle 4, this is water. Don't ask me why. It's again one of those things that I really hope get changed. That's why we've seen so many games go over here. Because they go away from the mountains. We know it. It's proven. We've seen the heat maps. We've seen all these things. And the players know it too. Everybody wants to get the hell away from here because they knew it's going to go even further. And you want it to be as close to the next shift as possible so you don't have to play with the blue on your back. So everyone's rotating over. FaZe obviously wanting to be close to their home. They got homesick, I think. And hello, Wanted. How are you doing today, buddy? TSM trying to push over. They find one Na'Vi player in the compound. I'm still surprised by the fact that they actually kept him there. NIP, Ratio Edge, no, not Ratio Edge, Reciprocity, and Gamer Legion all forced to take fights alongside each other. Knights, they have the compound, and I like this play. Again, you do not want to be contained in these sort of like valley point compounds. So if whenever this fight is done, if there's only going to be one team surviving this. We all know this. There's only going to be one team surviving this. If that one team gets to position themselves here, destroy, not that you would probably use vehicles in this circle anyway, but if they get position themselves here without any immediate threats from here, Knights ain't never leaving that compound. Unless if they get an absurd amount of knocks, there's no way in hell they're actually getting out of there alive. So, great understanding from Knights and saying, if we want to survive and be able to play this compound, there cannot be one team winning this. There has to be 0. There cannot be one team alive up here. We need to kill them in order to actually play this. So they run out of the compound and they go aggressive on the top. Unfortunately, NIP plays the other side of the hill. Gamer Legion are passive in the blue, so they can't really deal with it. But they've already forced NIP over on the other direction, or in the other direction, so they won't be playing their ridge line. Smart play. It's not a big play. It's not something that I think either the observers would care to look at too much, and also the casters might not see it because, I mean, there's so many other fights happening at the same time. But it's just one of those, force them to go the other way. It's a small play. Had they not been there, NIP could have wanted to run that direction, held them off. But because they go up and show presence on the hillside, they go, whoop, we ain't doing that. And now they're forcing them this way instead. Small play, but very, 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 what do you call it? Like, it's when you don't do much, but a lot happens. Do you know what I mean? I forgot what the word is. My English is so bad today, I'm sorry. Little effort to big gain. I think that's what I was trying to say with it. So they get to stay in the compound for a while. Of course, now at this point, leaving, NIP is up there, but the circle is that much smaller, so they have so much many more immediate threats than trying to contain a compound. As you can see, all of Na'Vi looking up towards them. In the meantime, on the west side, Desperados try to cross over. They've been fighting for the whole thing. And FaZe get the shift thrown up towards them. They have a dip here that they can pretty much stay in. They just need to make sure that no one can wrap around this way or this way. So as long as they can make sure of that, they can continuously one step further in. take more ground, take more ground. Where other teams would just be hiding on the first ridge line, they dare to go to the second, dare to go from the second over to the third and spread that much more, and all of a sudden they have this under control. Right now, FaZe is sitting on half the circle, and that's why people go, FaZe circles all the time. No, they have this under. They have half the circle. Of course, there's a big chance they get it. I mean, and even there's a big chance they get it, but in this case, they actually don't. So it's not all about FaZe getting circles. It's what they do with this. Like, they take space where there is none. Whereas so many other teams, they don't play scared necessarily, but they just don't dare. Like they do. You know, when people say you play aggressive, it also sounds wrong. But I don't think there's a word for it. At least not an English one that I can come up with. But they just play very dominant. Like, if they want something, they'll go out to get it. It's not always that they actually get it, but they'll want to. This, for those of you guys who don't know, is big dip, which means that nobody wants to be in there because, well, that's death. And then the ridge line around the side is where you can play from. They pushed Navi uphill because they knew with the dip they were in. Like, this dip that they had here only worked because everyone else, like, okay, so you have the dip in. Let me draw a bigger circle. This is the real dip, and this is the bottom of the dip. The only reason FaZe can play the bottom of the dip is because they know that everyone that is currently up here have to look in these directions. They have to fight each other right now. That means FaZe can chill while everyone else is fighting. But as this circle comes to a close, a lot of these fights end, a lot of the teams get eliminated. We go from 16 down to 3 teams, I believe. And they now realize, well, they obviously don't know, but if this fight is over, that means that these guys can now see them in the dip. If this fight is over, now they're completely exposed. So the wall that was their cover essentially becomes their defeat. And they realize this. That's the tricky thing, and that's the hard thing to do, and that's what FaZe does really well. They realize this before it happens. Other teams would be in this position, and then once they start getting shot at by Desperados, they'll go, oh no, this spot doesn't work anymore. But at that point, it's already too late, because now Desperados has the position. They do that, like, they understand that it's about to happen 10 seconds prior to it happening, so they get the hell out of there before Desperados have any chance of peeking them. You can see they all push down this way. There is a chance for them to make a play on FaZe, but FaZe say, not even going to happen. We're going to be forced to push uphill against Navi, and that's scary enough in itself. But had they still been here while Desperado have this, there's no way in hell this FaZe would survive that. So great play by FaZe to go up and take the high ground or the hilltop position. Knights, they're on the backside of the hill. They have to push across the road. Bus is trying to hold the angle, trying to make sure no one's crossing over. Uber gets taken down. And Tomil, it's so funny. There's a crate down here. And at this point, I'm like, Tomil, what the fuck are you doing? Because his team is fighting down here. And in all fairness, I mean, Ultra and Simsy shouldn't lose a fight like this. And at least not initially. Snark gets one, but they should have gotten him down. And then Reels comes over to take him. And I'm like, did Tomil just completely give up his teammates because he saw a crate? We've seen a game before where I think Desperados were 4v2. Actually against Knights. It was against Snark and it was against D-Man. We casted that game together on the east side where Calvin goes down to get a crate and we were both like, that's a little scary. So Simsy was left alone. That became a 1v2. Like, so they were in at 4v2 but ended up losing the game. And I was thinking, I was looking back at this and I was like, Tomil, don't you fucking go for that crate. Don't go for that crate, Tomil. And then he runs over to the crate and I'm like, oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. But I think the issue is he's on the wrong side of the road. So if he wants to cross back at this point, FaZe are gonna see him. And the fact that Uber just got knocked, knowing, well, one is gonna be spending time on the rest, and Phosphorus ain't gonna be looking far. He has to defend his 2 teammates resting, so he's gonna be looking close. That means I'm not gonna be able to run up here. These guys will see me. I have to just take the wraparound while they're focusing elsewhere. So it's not a sacrifice of teammates. I just think that as soon as Ultra gets knocked there, he knows there's no way I'm getting over to help. And at this point, FaZe is back to being on. It's like any of those like Assassin's Creed type games where you knock the guy, or you knock him out, and you know you only have the amount of time to do this. You cannot, like, once he's back up on his feet again, you can't do this anymore. So Tomil essentially had to get past the guards before he came back up on his feet, Uber in this case. So, and he does. So even though it seems like a Tomil just not giving a rat's ass about his teammates, he realizes this is the only play I can make because there's no way that Ultra and Simsy are getting out of there alive. And it does mean that they well, you can see for yourself what ends up happening. Tomil completely forgotten by everyone. Now he gets the flush onto Uber. Does manage to get the flush on towards Phosphate as well, and it becomes the a very interesting 1v1 with 8C tossing nades, and I think he actually he ends up killing him. There you go. He ends up killing him with his I think it was his final nade, because Tomil had the dud. I mean, the dud was here, and 8C had, I think, a little bit of a ridge line up here to play on, or rock. Had he missed, like, had that nade not hit the final one, and 8C had to run down the field, Tomil just got full level 3 gear. I mean, that could have been a Tomil win, but as you said, I mean, Desperados had been fighting the entire game, and unfortunately, Tomil wasn't able to pick off any meds in any of those fights. So they end up losing. FaZe wins one more on the day, but I mean, even though it seemed like Tomil sacrificed all his teammates, he pretty much gave them that second place off of making the play that he did. I just remember seeing it in the moment. I was like, "Oh my God, Tomil, you just sacrificed your entire team." But then when you see it and when you see it back like this, then it makes more sense. Game number 3 coming up in just a moment. Let me just check this real quickly. Give me one sec. Now, I'll just let this one fly. Then we'll take it from here. Boop. And then you guys can think about this for a second. Okay, let's see here. I'm sorry. It's important conversation. What map is better for casting? All of them have different things to. I mean, when you say casting, casters have very different preferences in what they like to cast. There are some casters like D-Man who really like those crazy city endings, and and those can be really fun. They can. Don't get me wrong, they're hilarious. But in terms of certain things, so in that case, for casting, Sanhok would be great because there's a lot of cluster fights, but that's also kind of all it is. Whereas to other maps have more variation. So I guess it depends on the caster, to be honest. I personally really like Miramar. I'm a little frustrated with the circles being so repetitive these days, but overall I really like the map for casting. And Erangel too. I'm not a big fan of Sanhok. I want to see Vikendi with less compounds in play, but hi microphone, stop moving. Okay, I guess we're leaving it there. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Now let's see. Northern Circle. Crow Crowd have the northern side. They're in all kinds of joyous positions. TSM rotating over, and again, this is the value of looting where they do. Look at this. I remember watching the first week of PKL. No one looted here, and I was thinking to myself, why oh why do we not see anyone take this spot? Because that's literally the best spot to rotate from. Like, then you have guaranteed passage to all three islands, and even a northern circle, as long as they know they're beating 7, like by rotating quickly, perfect play for them. So they make their way over to the northern side rather early. Makes perfect sense. And now we'll see Ratio Edge go up. They try to take some control again. Anything here, like when you withdraw up, This here is really difficult to play from. Then you have a hillside here that you can play, but overall it's not easy to play up here. This is very open, like this area. It's like those rice field thingies, again, that we've seen before. DA and Desperados play out on the east side. Ratio edge limited to one compound, and that's what you kind of have to do on Sanhok, especially with a circle with this much water. You know it's going to go back south to you to a certain extent. It's just a matter of how you do it. And I'm looking here, and I just don't think, I mean, they've Gamer Legion, I think Hamster spots 7 leave. They spot them leave, and not only does he see them leave, he also sees them take a right turn. I'm pretty sure Hamster is looking at them. So he sees them take a right turn, but they never saw TSM leave. Like, they never saw TSM cross. So they have no idea that there's people up here. And I think that's the issue. They take boats. TSM sticks around because they know if this next circle goes north, we have a pretty good chunk here that could force the circle to us. But Gamer Legion never knows that TSM were actually here. So as soon as they get in their boats and their jet skis and whatnot, TSM just go, well, that's 3 kills. And they slaughter them. Fortunately, Vex and Hamster managed to stay alive for a while, but it's, oh my lord, this circle. Pfft. We talk about how the land has, like, how the center has to be on land. Let's just, I know this is not completely center, but still. Where do these meet? Like, there? Kind of. A little further north, maybe there. The center has to be on land. And this one could not be closer to water than where it is. If we try to kind of find the center of the circle. That is so ruthless of a circle. Everyone was playing the back because they knew it was going to shift down in that direction. And in all fairness, it will shift. But FaZe now are going to be sitting perfectly for the next one. Yeah, I mean, it does force creativity. I agree with you, D-Man. It's much less repetitive, especially Sanhok games. I don't mind these circles at all. I think circle 5 would be good. I think circle 5 would be good because if you have those circles that go here, like we see the first circle here, second circle here, third circle here, it's just poop. But if circle 5 goes away from water, at least as much as it can, because the thing is there could be so much water in circle 5 or circle 4 that it wouldn't go away. Then it would work out. Fibrino, I'm kind of doing analysis right now, so I can't really play public games right now. 60% water. I don't really have my calculator with me, but at least 55%, I'd say. There's definitely more water than land. Let's see. Ends. Cow is their home turf. They're expecting the circle to go something like this or like that. This probably won't happen because there's going to be water on this side. So either over here or straight down south is where teams are, I think, expecting the circle to go. And then we have this whole middle point, which is so funny. No one wants to play the pie in the middle. And I think the main reason is that nobody really wants to have to cross multiple roads. They already have to cross one here. And as you can see, I mean, there are so many teams here. Liquid cross over because they don't expect, even with this shift. Like in this circle, why should anybody that are currently on this side want to push down here, right? So Liquid say, if we just go here fast enough, then we don't have to worry about anyone here. We can put all our focus on containing whichever teams come out of Paradise. And also we know the circle is going to come to us. So a smart play, but as you can see, they're visible to Crow Crowd. They need to go back and deal with them. They realize that we have to deal with Navi and N47 before we can do anything. Gamer Legion as well. Not Gamer Legion, G2. They hear the bullets fired from the other side, so they want to see if they can make a play on it too. It's going to stall out for a little while. Knights, they try to push over the top. Circle is going to go straight into Crow Crowd. I mean, not really straight, but kind of, sort of, into Crow Crowd. But they're also very, very split in 2 different positions. Can't really use this whole Tamok wood lumber mill type area for anything because it's so open with the hills still being in on both sides. Ends try to maintain control of Cow. Circle goes down center. DA hold our FaZe. FaZe knew they had to push. They managed to take them 4 for 0. It's of course not what you want to have happen. Udyr, boop, spotted by Uber as well. Good game for FaZe, whether they win it or not. Circle straight into the freaking lumber field yard thingy. D2 forced to push down. Ain't gonna happen. Chris gets in. Not gonna happen either. Raise your edge, hold off. Now there's plenty of people knocked. Oh, just exactly makes it across, I said, but then they don't. I like this play by Ens, to be honest, because Ens could have just walked up on the top and helped there, but they realized that we can't really fully engage the compound. So with this position, like if they stay on this side of the hill, you can see they never really overcommit. If they stay on this side of the, I guess you can say the ridge, then they can focus here without being visible to Crow Crowd. It's like unpunished third-party opportunity for them. So they push down on the side and they focus Crow Crowd, or Ratio Edge, rather than taking the engagement to Crow Crowd. Because they also realize that if we don't kill them and then take a fight up here, then they can just come screw us. So great understanding by Ens in that game. GMT, he's been a solo for a while. Now his solo days are over. Trifly down, damaged by the blue, and ends up going down. Timmy gets a double, wins the game. That's gonna be a 13 kill game. And Misa went down earlier, I believe, that game. So or earlier. So impressive game by Crow Crowd to once again pull out wins. I mean, they were really doing well in the final day. Impressive game for them overall. Game number 4 coming up. We're heading over to the final couple of games. First of those on Erangel. Decent plane. I think again this is probably one of the most fair planes we can get. Multi power, like I think that's kind of the line. Looking at this, the only teams that can't really go where they would normally go is Ens, but they tend to just jump Sarki North George split anyway, so it's not really the biggest deal. Then Navi, they can just jump for vehicles early, drive down. Everyone else, like it's only 2 teams that have to not necessarily change up, but do variations. And yeah, I think that's as good as you can get it. If only 2 teams are forced to change up their spots, then I think that's happy days for everyone. And we got an Eastern Circle, very rare to see in in PEL for whatever the fuck reason. Squeaky decides to jump late. Squeaky parachutes to the compound. Okay. Curious with this play. And it kind of makes sense because they know no one's going to contest the Alpha anyway. Yeah, I think Crow Crowd was in too because, I mean, M47 wasn't going to make it. And we knew that it was going to be one of the teams that were within PGC points that was going to win anyway. Like whenever FaZe kind of solidified their first place spot. Oh, I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's FaZe or Liquid that wins as long as they are a PGC team anyway. Then that spot is just going to go down to the next. So it was pretty guaranteed. But I like the play that Squeak is actually over here. They knew no one's going to be north, and in case it's the Eastern Circle, he can lock down a spot early. And you can see that's exactly what it does. He barely even starts looting, takes the car, goes over east. Really smart play by Ens, who are in Saki right now, but they already have a spot in the circle. N47 go heaven. N47 to heaven. Raise your edge. Take the compound. James wants to get it, realizes there are people, turns back, goes down to the spot he was at before. TSM goes over and forces all of Knights into... This is a fun game where all of Knights are forced into Alamo very early. You can see they're currently holding a 2-2 split, and of course this is their kind of home turf, where they get the what do you say? They get to kind of handpick which place they want to play from. So now they're 2-2 splitting Alamo and Mansion, which I guess kind of makes sense. Especially in the older angle, you have so much, like it's so open here, so they have so much vision. So if anyone pushes either or, they will know that plenty of time in advance, unless if anyone runs through the forest. G2 goes through the open, tries to find themselves a position, and again, playing Kinkwin Dip in Circle 2, that to me seems a little scary, especially considering the fact that they have people up on the northern side who can't really help them a whole lot. So they force 4 people down into Kinkwin Dip in Circle 2. That to me is a little dangerous, considering the fact that all these compounds around you are taken already and will be even more taken. Dropping by to say I really appreciate analysis from yourself and D-Man. You work with reciprocity, and you were fairly new to PUBG. Been using this to really help. You know what? Thank you. I am glad that I'm glad that you enjoy what I do, because I enjoy what I do too. And I hope that your work with reciprocity is going well too. Knights had a terrible end. That is true. I was the one guy you probably didn't recognize on the couches. Ah, okay. I saw there was a guy giving fist bumps before the game started for reciprocity. I was like, huh, who's that guy? Or was it Knights? There was one guy. Anyway, there was one guy on one of the teams that I saw in, like, when they fly the camera over before the game starts, and they gave a fist bump to the players and stuff like the coaches normally would. Where I was like, I've never seen that person before. But if that was you, then welcome to I guess PEL. I can't really welcome you because I technically wasn't really in PEL this phase, but I'm sure D-Man can welcome you, and that's of course good too. Yeah, there were a lot of people. Like, you could go watch PEL this week too. There was many people. Wait, did you get your good headsets back for this week, D-Man? Or was it even louder than it normally is? If you know what I mean. Just a simple yes or no question. Calvin tries to, again. we talked about reciprocity yesterday. It was today, but the game's from yesterday. Desperado's expecting to get a center spot with this circle shift, to me at least, is very greedy. I think it's very greedy for them to expect to be able to get, unless if they are wanting to crash, which I don't normally see Desperados wanting to crash compounds early, but they lose 3 players going from here to here, straight through the middle of the circle, and arguably the most open area of Erangel, with compounds being held everywhere. I just don't. I mean, if you rewind, they come in, like, they have this compound, circle pops, and yes, you want to get something center because you've just been shifted away from, but scout, move. The issue is that once you, I mean, you have these dips, right? I think that's the last spot to stop. Because once you cross the road, once you're across this road, and you keep driving, once you do that, there's nowhere you can stop. If you look at the line, there's nowhere you can stop before you're down here. And even if they wanted this spot, they have to anticipate there to be so many people in this area that will be shooting at them. They're literally driving past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. They're driving through 6 teams. And we're not talking about, oh, maybe they'll fire 1 or 2 bullets. We're talking like half to whole magazines fired from opponents. Or maybe not ratio H, but half to full magazines fired on their vehicles. And they expect to get all the way down here in a circle that is shifting to the only area people would already be sitting in. Because if we all know, Yasnaya isn't in this circle. No one's playing down by Lumbermill on the southern side. Like, this is not going to be played either. So we kind of all expecting this to be the area of teams to be in already. And now that the next circle goes over here, there's just going to be even more people. So that, I think, is a mistake on their part. They probably know as well. But I just don't see what they were expecting to get. And they end up going down. Oh well, Calvin stays alive technically, but not exactly the rotation I think they were hoping to achieve in that situation. Now let's see. Crow crowd gonna go over the top. Circle down south. Now, if you're in N47's shoes, which we are not, but let's just act like we are. Your main job right now has to be holding outside, because you know these guys you've been shooting at, I think Paige and Vasco have been dealing some damage down towards him. They've heard all the vehicles and stuff move around the mansion, and also with this circle, mansion should be taken anyway. You have to look south. You have to anticipate there to be people down there. And then the real question becomes, hold out this, but where do we go from here? You have to dedicate players to holding out the north. You can see Ivel is up here, making sure no one's crashing down. And at the same time, what can we get if the next circle doesn't include us? Because they are the northern edge, right? Unless if they get a hard shift, odds are that they will most likely have to leave, which they then will. Then what can you play? What can you do in this circle if you're in 47? You have, I think, 3 or 4 options. Crash into Alamo. Dangerous place to crash because A, well, it's very isolated, hence the name. So you'll get shot at by all the other teams. And B, at this point in the game, there's probably going to be plenty had it been circle 1 or circle 2, maybe you would be lucky that you could crash with 4 and it was only going to be 2 people there. But this late in the game, odds are that there's a full 4-man team in there. So you're going to be in a straight 4v4 fight. Technically, no one has the advantage. Odds are you will have been shot at while you were driving there. So you maybe even have lost 1 or 2 players, or at least taken damage. And while you're trying to get inside the walls to fight them, other teams will be shooting. So the team sitting in the compound has a huge advantage over you. And also, if the next circle then goes further south, you have to leave there again, and then you're most likely going to die anyway. So that's kind of out of the picture. Warehouse is even worse because you have to drive past the Alamo. You could try and go over to the eastern side. You have like the little ridge line here. The only issue is you can't play this ridge line as long as Alamo is in. So that's going to be a no-go. So what can you do? You can't really, I mean, if you're in M47's position, you can't really stop anywhere. Unless if you want to make like a vehicle fort out here, but that's also going to be your vehicle destroyed, and then you're dead anyway. So unless you want to make a fort, then you're not going to be able to stop before you've crossed the road. There's simply nowhere they can stop to take fights where they have somewhat of a chance of surviving. And thank you, champs, for the host. So their only play to make is just full speed send it. Either, and then we have to look at what can they send it to, right? If you draw up the road, they have to go somewhere down here. What can you do? Drive straight past the compound that you know there are 4 people in? Most likely not going to happen. Go on the west side, 2 compounds shooting at you? Not going to happen. Wrap all the way west. Where would you go in? You could try to go down to shelter maybe? But that's again gonna be you shot at, and most likely there's still teams up here. Not going to happen. East? Oh wait, they just heard a team leave mansion. That might be a play to make. The only issue is if they want to play anything down here, they not only have to deal with G2, but they also need to make sure that there's literally no one in prison. Because if they're trying to play down here and anyone pushes out or pushes from above, they're going to be screwed. So what do? Take a look at what happens. They hold for as long as they can, get as much info as they can. Oh wait, what's this? Ends and G2 are fighting. Stop on the lines. Try and deal with them. 1 down. 2 down. Rotate around. Page does go down a little. Unfortunate play from them. Force them to leave or get them killed. They do, and now you can push further down. So in a situation where they literally had, like, you have to go through all the options, right? So there's nothing they can do. They still managed to make a play and stay inside the circle. They were fortunate that ENS and G2 collide where they did. But it's a situation where they literally had to go through, okay, this doesn't work, we can't rotate around, can't go over, can't go down here because we're going to get shut up by them. And one of the main issues is if they had not made that agreement before this happens, like that's the thing that people tend to forget. Whenever you're sitting in a compound and people just go, oh, they're just sitting there, it's so boring, they have all the chances in the world and they're not doing anything. As an in-game leader, and even as the teammates providing information to the in-game leader, you have to, in this circle, go, if you're in 47 on the edge here, you have to go, good, guys, listen up. And this is all happening while they're shooting and giving info and all this. If the circle goes east, which options do we have? If the circle goes west, what options do we have? If it goes south, what can we do? And then whenever the circle does shift, there's no time now to say, okay, so the circle went here, good, because by the time they've gone over all the options, that spot they would have wanted to go to is already taken and is long gone. So they need to react immediately, which is what you see. T-Bone runs up, Ivel holds off the backside, get into the vehicle, get going. Now they rotate. Really important to be fast, and this is I'm gonna get laughed at for saying this, but this is a contenders team making it into PEL, and they are already now making plays and reactions. And this is just one example, but they're already now making plays and reacting faster than some of the PEL teams are. Hence why they sit in the spot that they do. So very difficult things to do. Another team to look for quick reactions in those, like these type situations, is Liquid. Liquid is extremely good. I think that's the thing that they're best at. One thing is that they're good at shooting and rotating and whatnot, but I think that's the play that's the thing they're best at. Using the information and reacting to it extremely fast. Like they are very, very quick on their decision making. And it doesn't always have to be the best decision. Like maybe there was a play they could have made that was better, but whenever they all four commit to making that same decision, then it tends to work out. It's those situations where one guy thinks something is happening, another guy thinks they're doing something else. That's when it really messes you up. Circle goes west. Literally everything here is in the open. There's a tree down here I think you can play, but that is approximately about it. Not a whole lot more you can do. N47, they know we can't push here because, well, Knights are just going to slaughter us. So we're going to have to push south. We need to deal with them, though. So force these guys to fight, try and push over. I didn't really understand this play just because T-Bone runs, and he hasn't really been shot at yet, as far as I remember. And then when Vasco comes in the vehicle, T-Bone go, well, thank you, Vasco. Now they all hurt me. And then they get killed because of it. I don't know if that was the reason. I just don't think that NIP was actually holding them off. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty certain that they weren't actually looking towards T-Bone because they knew they were going to have to deal with Yemtsi and Ibiza. So they kind of got fucked. You can see them; they're all shooting north, and then whenever Vasquez takes the car instead of just running, then they just turn around and all kill them. So N47 goes down despite some good reactions earlier. Ratio Edge trying to play the north. In the meantime, of course, TSM and Knights, they just go, I guess we can just keep shooting at these guys. That's not actually what they do, but you know what I mean. They chill, they have the circles. GMT gets around on the side, stays alive for a little while longer, threw a random nade over the top that got him a kill. Ratio Edge, fortunately gets on over, they get the flush off, so that's going to be them three guys alive. And now Gamer Legion, they're in a tough one. They have to get out of here. And at the same time, like they want to grab east, but you can't really do that, especially not when Navi are going to be sitting. Like Navi's main job right now is not to deal with this. Navi's main job is to make sure that they're the only team that gets to cross the road. So get over here, get in a position to deal with Gamer Legion. That's exactly what they have to do. And at the same time, Knights make a really smart play. Once Ratio Edge is dealt with, they realize, good, this is far out on the edge. If whatever team wins here gets to go up here and sit, they will just, like, they will contain us inside the compound. So if we don't get out of there quickly, well, that's going to be us dead. So they are active. They go out, take a good spot. And now, fortunately, they get the circle too. They're going to help take down all of these guys. TSM has to leave. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to it. Knights, they just play it on the back. No reason to aggress. Play it safe. And hold off anyone trying to, well, potentially fight their way through it. Three guys holding down. Drayden making sure no one's wrapping on the side. They have like a little bit of a ridge, you can see. Spots Rory, goes down. 3v1, wham, them down, and I think, yeah, 12 kill game for Knights. So they were a little passive while everyone was fighting south, but they still managed to rack up quite a few kills. So good game. Good game. That was the fourth game. We have 2 more games to go. 2 more games to go on the final day of PEL, and then we're going to be done with the entire season. Not just phase or week, but the entire season of PEL. That's insane. Did I miss anything? You guys were talking. Played after each game PEL instead of time taking down screen during. Yeah, Blade, I would love to do this during PEL. Of course, not as in depth as we do here, but I would love to do that. I hope I might get a chance to, but who knows? I doubt it. I tried to make them incorporate something like that for the last phase, and they said no, so who knows? Maybe they've changed their mind. Southern Plain, we've seen them before, and some people say Southern Plain equals military circles, and it's by no means a guarantee, but for the sake of the situation, we do get a Southern Circle. Poink. Do get a Southern Circle. And boom, thus the fun matches come around. Do you guys see? I'm just gonna ask you. Do you guys see? While I take a little bite to eat, do you guys see anything in this map out of where the people are dropping and whatnot, where things go a little different than what they normally would? Let me know. There are three things in this match. A, Team Liquid jumping onto face. B, DA jumping onto military. And no, NIP is different. They've done this plenty of times before. But Desperados once again, and that's not really different because we've seen it before, but Desperados once again kicking out Ratio Edge in these circles. That's always funny. But Ratio Edge obviously knowing that that face aren't there, they're just gonna well, I guess make space and go out and take what's outside. There's no reason for them to really contest. But this whole jump by DA is a little confusing to me. And then of course Liquid, they know in order for us to win, we need to kill face. Or well, in order for us to win, we need to get a lot of points, and we need face to not get points. So the best way for them to do that is to jump straight down onto the faces of, well, face. So they try to go and take their spots and force them into. They don't, even though they don't get kills here, they still actually do a lot of damage because they have just gotten access to the boats. First of all, they have access to the boats on the east side, and they have forced face to push further in towards TSM. So if TSM were nice, they would go, "Hey, Liquid, we'll help you guys," and then they would kill them. But unfortunately, not a whole lot more happens than the fact that that Liquid pushes away face. So they're a little living with the scare there a little bit, but not a whole lot more escalating off of it. It does mean that we put one more team on the eastern side, though. And normally in these circles, had Liquid been looting Pachinki, they would have been over on military a long time ago. But this time around, well, they're on the eastern side, so they are not. They are going down to take boats. But because TSM opted to take vehicles, which they seem to be doing right here, face get themselves a boat for free as well. 7 in Novo, they're going to be able to grab underneath. Face know that Novo is open. Well, they don't know it, but probably expect it. They'll get to cross. Desperados pushed up, and this is a little interesting because Gamer Legion oftentimes make this rotation where they go on this side early. But they normally are not contested, and this time around, Desperados showing up and saying, "Haha! We are also here." And the fun thing is that normally, and that's why it's kind of like PUBG is one big game of butterfly effect. And if you guys know what butterfly effect is, it's like if you travel back in time and kill one butterfly, that can change the entire outcome of reality. Because that butterfly would have been eaten by that bird, that would have been eaten by this guy, that would have flown into that whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? So like everything has impact on things to come. And normally Gamer Legion would cross over and either play the hill, play the compounds, or something similar. But they go up here, and a team that has played this position a lot of times before and never really been contested is M47. So because Gamer Legion weren't able to take the spot they normally do because Desperados came from military and took that, they go to take the spot that N47 would normally take, and now they come into it expecting it to be open, but now they're contested. That was fast. But do you understand what I mean? And it's one thing when it's a game where nobody knows what's going to happen anywhere, but when it's a game where even though there's no rules for how certain things should happen, we still see situations where we see the same things happen because of patterns and teams prioritizing some compounds over other compounds and whatnot. So over time, teams will get it into the head that, oh, this is where they normally play from, so that's going to be them up there. You kind of throw these irregularities on your head, and well, N47, who wants to push up, realize the Gamer Legion has taken full control. Navi trying to wrap underneath. They managed to do that, but they run into 7, so that's another kind of issue. And And we see these things happen all over the place. NIP, they're going to take boats from the Povka. Obviously, they were looting there, so it's not really a big deal. Circle goes west, and they continue to sail around the southern side. Makes perfect sense to just hug underneath. No reason to really do anything overly scary. Run up and play on foot. Hopefully get yourself some vehicles. And, well, they could also just run into the military base itself. Desperados taking a fight to who? Oh, it's TSM. TSM tried to crash down because, well, TSM came late. And remember that time when we said that different things have impact on different things? This is the spot that TSM normally goes to, but because DA decided to land on the military island, TSM, who obviously always send it full speed down here, now doesn't have this compound to play from anymore. So they lose 2 players, or 1 player make that. And then they realize, well, we can't play that anymore, so we'll go up and play from where DA normally plays. But they don't want to stay on the hill, so they want to crash in. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out for them either, and they go down. You see what I'm saying? There's so much... a small rotation from one team that's out of the ordinary can have such a big impact on how the rest of the game flows, because certain teams have been able to do certain things too many times and they get comfortable with it, and they don't really think about the fact of, oh, what if what if it didn't go the way that we wanted it to today? And believe me, a lot of teams get surprised. Cause and effect. Exactly. Pretty simple. It's just funny how maybe people don't go, oh, but why did CSM do that? Because DA went here. Because they landed here. Like all these different things. And you have to take those into account. It's very difficult as a player to take them into account, because obviously, I mean, if every game is completely different, then how are you ever going to understand and predict anything? But in these given situations where, I mean, if we rewind a little, nobody probably would have expected DA to jump here, to be fair. But then again, look at the plane. How in the hell is DA supposed to get to Rostock? Most likely not going to happen, right? That's a pretty damn long flight. Maybe they could fly to Pochinki. I'm not going to contest vehicles in Pochinki with Liquid. I mean, to be fair, they probably could have, because there was no one Pochinki this game. But you know what I mean. Could you imagine DA reading that 2 teams jumped early and then they just go take Pochinki? That would have been like a 600 IQ play from DA. But even I think even super duper top teams probably wouldn't call that one. That 2 teams jumped out early, because there was 5 teams that jumped, and you just simply can't count them up that fast. And even if you could count them up, you probably wouldn't make the connection necessarily. So back to where we were before. Liquid, or TSM, I make that, are dead. Liquid are playing the south side. Normally they're playing the north, but because they didn't come in from this side, they're now forced to go around the bottom, because they came from over on this side. So we have we have a very, very similar circle. Like whenever we've got a military, we've seen these circles a billion times before. But this particular game, it's very, very different. The only teams that are kind of in the same spots are Erasure Edge. I wouldn't even say Desperados, because FaZe tend to get over and get that spot. So Erasure Edge are in the same spot, kind of. N47 is as close to the spot they would be in normally as it probably will be. Navi has played the outside before, but they normally stop up on the hills. But they didn't this time around, and why was that? Because Desperados were still there. So they were forced away as well, just like Gamer Legion were. So they're forced to go down to play the spot that FaZe would normally play. But 7 were already there because they landed Novo. It's a lot of complicated talking points if you haven't watched any of the PL already. But if you're watching on YouTube, I assume that we've reached a point at which you understand what I'm talking about. I think just whenever you go into the final week of a tournament, you have to kind of go into it with like freshly cleaned glasses and go, guys, keep in mind that things can go very different this week from what we normally see. Example being that Liquid jumped over towards where FaZe were on the eastern side. So different setup of where all these teams are positioned. Ends they come over late. That's no big difference, I guess, technically. Where FaZe would normally go south side of Millie, they go north because of Liquid. Exactly, Skycall. You guys are starting to understand it. I know my guys, they had no idea why they were still there. Always went across middle and went towards the hill on the east side. Are you talking about reciprocity? They're surprised that they're still here. Or they're surprised that they were crossing there. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, they as well were kind of delayed by all the shenanigans that was happening over on this side. And I guess that kind of caused it. But let's continue. Circle that goes center. And we've seen, again, these circles a billion times before, where these compounds are in it. This is pretty much just a full-on repeat, and this is what I'm so confused by. Literally the day before this circle, or 2 days before, we had a game where phase 1 from up here. I want to go back and make a comparison. It's not going to be right now. Actually, we could do that now that we're here. Let me do this. Give me like 1 second. If you're watching on YouTube, just smile and wait, or you can fast forward a little bit. It's gonna take me 1 second just to find this game. I wanna find this match for you. This is really not that long ago. Just give me 1 second. I'm looking through this. It's gonna take a minute, maybe 2. No. That's the other one, so it's the day before that. 87, 80, 79. There you go. Okay, I want to make a comparison. Another plane is different. That much we know. Gotta fit it all into one screen here. Just want to see this in comparison to one another. Just want to see the circles. Ready? We'll do it at 32 speed. Maybe we'll do it 64. So that's a little different, sure. A little difference in terms of, okay, so it shifts a little, like this one still includes the other side of the road, this one doesn't. That one goes a little further north. Okay, so they aren't exactly the same, but you see what I'm saying, right? They are very, very, very similar. They aren't exactly the same. I will give PUBG that. It's not 100% repetitive circles. But they were very, very close to each other. Now we've revealed that entire game. I just wanted to make the comparison. For the fun of it. That one we can close. Good. Let's go back to where we were before. So, next circle goes south. This is where we were. It is pretty interesting though to see those those repetitive circles. Raise your edge, cross on over. Ends try to manage to get their way through. Reciprocity has to hold off. I mean, these three teams, I'm not sure exactly. This was a little interesting to me. Why Ends decide to play from here when they could stay. Like, there was a lot that Ends could have played differently here. They come in late, of course. That's the main issue right now. Ends is sitting on the northern side. They have no info because this is obviously uphill push. So they have no, like, everything they can see is limited to this. So with this circle shifting, they think, okay, what do we have if we push west? If you go this way around, there's going to be no compounds, there's going to be no nothing, and most likely there's going to be teams fighting for this position. So either it's there, no info, it's over here, no info, or it's through the compounds, no info. This is going to be really open. This, you can always crash into something, And this you're most likely going to have to take a fight. I mean, even if you land here, odds are that there would be a team here. They probably don't expect all of Desperados to be crashing. So they go literally backtrack reciprocity and get forced into a fight. No stopping, no nothing. They never stop up here to scout. Just full speed forward into the spot down here. Very, very dangerous place to try and hide. Braxco managed to make his way across. Desperados start falling apart. They end up going down without getting a single kill. I mean, at least not in that fight. Crow Crowd push up, and now we have 3 different teams up on this hillside. And 7, they go, wait. So we're kind of in the position that FaZe were in yesterday. What about if we just play the exact same spot that FaZe did? No over-aggression, no stupidity. Just play the same spot that FaZe did. That's exactly what they do. Sit on the hillside, don't over-aggress. You can push up here, but they need a fight to happen. Like, if they start running up now, Navi's just going to focus them because these guys ain't pushing Navi. So they cannot really leave here before this escalates. And with the next circle shifting away from where they were, they know they will have to take the fight. And 7 don't have to worry about this compound. This compound is so close to the center that they're not going to be leaving. These guys can't leave because these guys are holding them. And then North has absolutely no reason to push middle either. So 7 knows there's no way we're going to get pushed by anyone except for up here. And why don't we just go kill them while they are fighting elsewhere at the same time? Edelweiss sits to make sure that no one's pushing. They get the kills. Good position for 7. All because they rotated south around instead of north around, which they normally do. And 7 tend to play from this compound and not from the south side. So this time around, they go in from the south. They manage to get into the spot at which they are. Also, these fights here. This whole area is going to be so... it is so different with the live patch, so it's going to be very fun to see these endings in the future. To see how differently they will be played out. Position. Both these teams don't really have to fight each other right now. They just have to contain DA. So, I'm pretty certain that's what's going to happen. Desperados trying to push forward. DA try to push in. Not going to happen. 4v4. Desperados has a chance to win it. They push in, they lose players, bust and stuff, and they go over the top. All of a sudden, Tomil, all on his own, 1v2, goes down, 7 wins it with 9 kills. But then again, FaZe didn't have a lot of kills either in this win. They were sitting on the southern side for a while, no action, while everyone was fighting up here. And still a 7-kill game is pretty decent in any case. And now, guys, after all the sidetracks, after everything that has happened, game number 96. The final PEL Phase 3 analysis is coming your way. It's been a good run. It's been a big joy. And let's all go into this final game with a lot of laughs, a lot of love, and hope that the next season is going to be even better. Plain, straight north to south. Of course, a little further west and east, but still decent enough. TSM. And this is where things go weird from the very start. Liquid go, well, we tried that last game, didn't work for us. Now TSM crashes Raise Your Edge. FYI, TSM normally loots Milta. And when TSM doesn't loot Milta, they normally fly, take vehicles, and drive to Milta. This time around, though, not quite the case. I'm very curious to hear from a TSM player why it is that they opted to go into Milta. If anyone knows, please do share it with me. Or into a military, I mean. I was very, very surprised to see this happen. And of course, Liquid don't necessarily know where FaZe is right now. But, Minox, what are you doing, guys? This was our spot. I was very surprised to see that happen, and honestly, I couldn't really wrap my head around it. TSM has forced fights in military before? When? I mean, I've seen TSM on the Western Plains. I've seen TSM jump for vehicles and go north, or just loot Novo. But when have they ever forced a fight, like hot dropped a team in military? Oh yeah, they've landed on the island. Like, they do that often whenever they have to go east on a western plane. Like this, we've seen those planes over here before. But they've always just jumped for vehicles and went to Milta, or just looted Novo and then wrapped around the other way. But I've never ever actually seen them force a fight inside of military. So them, I mean, there wasn't even, like, they didn't even consider doing anything else. They just full on sent it. I was just very, very surprised to see them do that. I guess it could be one of those, well, we can't beat the guys above us. We can't get taken by the guys below. Let's just go fight something. I don't know if it was just, you know how when you're behind in a football game 7-0, that's when you start saying, you know what? Let's just have some fun with it. I know they weren't behind 7-0 by any means, but you know what I mean? Like, well, however good their game would be, they wouldn't win anyway. So let's just go have some fun. Maybe that was the case. Yeah, exactly. They were just saying, you know what, guys, let's just go out and have some fun. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They were just trying to have fun in that final game. I just feel bad for Razor Edge, who were kind of needing a good game to not get relegated. And then TSM comes and jumps on their face, and you're like, well, Gamer Legion, how much did you pay these guys to jump into military? But it was a fun game nonetheless. So TSM forcing a fight with Razor Edge. I think Razor Edge were... Minox, now that you're here, Minox, what was the reaction? I have to ask you. When you jump in, same as always. Oh, Desperados ain't here because they jumped out at Severny. What was your reaction when you jump into military and you see a team fly with you? Like, what was the communication like? I have to ask you. Thank God I ran out of bullets. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, you thought Gamer Legion were coming to kill you? Let's fucking kill them. That makes sense. I mean, that's a good call. Gamer Legion, they needed to deal with you guys. Like, Gamer Legion needed to not let Razor Edge get 5 points or more. I think that was the case. And I guess what better way to do that than kill them yourself, if you're Gamer Legion. So you thought Gamer Legion were hot dropping you in military. So how was the reaction when the first knock comes in and you see that it's TSM? Like, what was happening then? I'm very curious, because I would be, if that was me and I was in Razor Edge in that situation, I'm like, wait, TSM? What the fuck are they doing here? Oh, wait, nobody got knocked ever? Oh no, they disengaged. You guys ran up. That's true. Huh. Oh yeah, it never happened. That is true. That is true. I thought there was a knock in the barracks and then you rested and ran off. Oh, okay. So okay, so then I'm asking the other way. What was your reaction when you found out that it was TSM? If you ever did before just now. I hope you found that out before just now. But it does make, I mean, it's just funny that TSM did that. Nobody looted and nobody had bullets. Everyone was just like, nope. Okay, so obviously, FaZe no. This is again an interesting, some mean words. Some mean words. Hey, Rita. This is a situation where, again, Liquid played really smart. So they go north. Like, they come in straight north to south. They loot up. They move up and kill Scoom. And then they realize, wait, guys, 1 second. This was a western plane. There's no way in hell FaZe is over here. They've got to be down here. And then Liquid just goes... They just full speed sent it down to the bridge because they know FaZe are gonna be rotating at some point. We better damn kill them. So they come down, they see one vehicle, they see two vehicles, they don't get any knocks. They actually let them drive past. That's the funniest thing. They never shoot at them, I think, if I recall correctly. And they go, there's no way this is not FaZe. Like this, we all know FaZe, they loot here, and then they'll leave. We know FaZe. We're inside their head now. So they... Okay, you know what would have been 600 IQ? I wanna have this confirmed by a Liquid player. But could you imagine this? And this is super far-fetched theory crafting. But if Liquid are this smart, then they deserve to win. Imagine this. Liquid knows that FaZe expects them to come and bridge camp. Liquid knows. Like, Liquid expects that FaZe will think that Liquid will bridge camp. So far, so good, right? So, in order for FaZe to think that Liquid won't bridge camp, they say, FaZe needs to be told, like, we need to tell FaZe somehow that we aren't down by that bridge. And what better way to do that than everybody goes north? Like, they know Scoom loots here anyway. If we can get FaZe to think that we aren't there, then they will go without worrying. So they all push up towards Scoom, kills him, and by killing him, FaZe sees in the kill feed, Liquid kills Reciprocity. Oh, okay, so they're all the way up by school or whatever. They've started fighting over here. Then they're not bridge camping us anyway. So if this is the case, that's fucking genius. If they went north to kill Scoom just because they wanted to have FaZe think they weren't gonna camp the bridge, that would have been like 9 billion IQ. So they do that. I still don't know if that was the reason, but they do that. Then they go down south to hold off FaZe, but FaZe kind of managed to get across. Like you can see the timing is just a little off. They couldn't get there in time. But they hardly expect this to be FaZe, obviously. And they know we need to kill FaZe. Like if FaZe gets any points, there's no, we already need to get 18 points and win the game. And for every single point FaZe gets, we need to get an extra point also. So we're already very far behind and we need to kill them. So they see them drive off, and Liquid goes, good. Where could they drive here? Because they know FaZe are going to do an underneath wrap thing, either there or this way around. And they go, we have to beat them. So they full speed send it over the top, try and see if they can get to there first, and they just force the fight with them. 3 guys at a distance, they now know, because the player got knocked. I think it was actually a team running over a teammate, so they now know, FaZe knows, holy shit, Liquid's coming for us. And they just turn around and full on take the fight. And then out of nowhere, here comes TSM, goes, wait, I'm seeing FaZe and Liquid in the kill feed. I'm hearing shots over here. This should never be, should it? And then they full speed send it down there as well. Because Liquid, TSM are already kind of not trolling, but kind of just having fun in this game. And then they go down to to engage, and they end up wiping out Liquid. So with that TSM FaZe practically wins the tournament. It's just a very fun start. Let me see. They couldn't set up bridge camp. This is all GM said yesterday. Scoom, he needed a vehicle. They had 3 vehicles in Pachinki though. I don't know. If that was the case though, that they went to kill him because they wanted FaZe to think they weren't there, I think that is a very, very smart play. It's something that is absurdly situational, but that is, I mean, if you use, one thing is that you rotate somewhere that your opponents won't expect, but if you try to force team, like if you try to really outsmart your opponents by kill feed activity, then, I mean, that is really, really smart. Now let's see. Circle East. This, of course, is it's not exactly the best circle for anyone other than, well, N47 and Reciprocity is sitting pretty well in it. And at this point, we already kind of have the most things guaranteed, but there's still one factor that we haven't really, guaranteed by any means yet. Gamer Legion still needs to outweigh Raise Your Edge in points. That's like the next focus point of this match. Raise Your Edge, they are on the brink of relegation, and the only thing that can stop them is if they beat Gamer Legion. So Gamer Legion, playing it passive, playing it safe on the backside. Raise Your Edge, get the circle down towards them, but they still have to cross over, and it's not exactly an easy spot to cross into. So Tixu gone down. Timmy tries to hold the underneath angle. They get all the players back up on their feet. And then this happens. While the most important thing for Gamer Legion is to play safe, and they go, you know what? Edge, scout. Edge, scout. Here comes these guys. We talked about butterfly effect before, right? FaZe would have never been here had it not been because of all this crazy shit happening down here, and down here, and down here. FaZe would never have been on this side of the circle making this rotation with the circle closing in. I think we can all agree on that. But unfortunately, for Gamer Legion, who are right now just trying to stay alive and make sure that Raise Your Edge don't win the game, because, I mean, then they'll get relegated, potentially. They play it safe, they go up to scout, and all of a sudden, here comes Fuzzface and Mexi, and they take out 2 of Gamer Legion. And here comes Rory on the backside. Kill given to Gamer Legion, sure. But they just lose 2 players because of everything that happened down south. Liquid only had 1 car, so they told me they went after... Oh yeah, they ran. I didn't even notice that. They ran. And Gemchi doesn't have a... Does Gemchi... Okay, wait. No cars, no cars, no cars? That's unfortunate. So they only had the hard spawn. And they go. Okay, fair enough. But in any case, Circle keeps on moving. Gamer Legion caught on the side. And this here is a really, really big open downhill towards this area. Which means that you can't really play it. At least not early on in the game. Especially not with this compound still being occupied. So a lot of teams forced up on the northern side. 2 teams on the southern side. And then you have this whole area in the middle that is kind of unplayed. Essentially. DA try to take down Vex. Not gonna happen. Makan tries to run off. Both get taken down. And now, I think Menox is they go from being toxic towards TSM to seeing Gamer Legion. Did you guys oh yeah, that's right. He flipped his vehicle. That's true. That is true. He flips his car. Did Menox? Did you guys realize that Gamer Legion got eliminated this early in the game? If you're still here. So what did you go from? Like, did you change playstyle after that happened? Yeah, so did you change your playstyle? Like, whenever... Did anything change from here to here for you guys? Or were you kind of playing the same game from when you entered that game till the end of it? Like, did anything happen for you? I went up quite a bit. But it still plays the same. Okay, so it wasn't like, oh no, now I have to be extra passive, or oh no, now we need to go and get extra kills or anything. It was just all of a sudden, it was like, oh my god, guys, this might actually happen. But if you cut through the middle, 3 teams south, 9 teams on the northern side. And this is a situation where, I mean, Ratio Edge, they need to get a good amount of points, right? I don't know, does Ratio Edge have any kills at this point? Okay, so they have 1, which means that they need, because they got 3 kills, they need 7 points this game. 7 points. In order to, or 7 more points because they have 1. So they need 8 points in total now for this game in order to qualify. Which means that either they have to get a 2nd place with 2 kills, or they have to get a bunch of kills, or 4 kills. I guess their sweet spot would be 4th place and 4 kills. So that's like a good balance between kills and damage. And also they know for a fact that there's no one on this side of the circle because they can see all of that. So if they just played passive on the south side, then 4 kills should be possible to get by the end of the game. I'm putting myself in Minox and Ratio Edge's heads here, and expecting to know what they would be doing. So the amount of players, that circle we can play slow. Exactly. Crow Crowd potentially holds off Ratio Edge, but at the same time they need to hold off the other side. Tixi does get taken down, so they're not 2-way split. Nuki is kind of by himself, and we still have a 8-team top and a 1.5-team bottom side of this circle. Nuki spots 1 but ends up getting knocked. I think Koldermentia just 180s on him, or was it Minox? I don't remember. But he gets taken down in a situation where he should at least have gotten 1 knock. Fortunately for Ratio Edge, it doesn't happen. Timmy forced to run around. They of course also want to stay put, because they know that N47 is still in the game. These guys go down, and all of a sudden we have Ratio Edge at 4 kills with 5 teams alive, which means now they're at 7 points. Essentially, they just need 2 more points now. 1 to 2. No, they need 1 more point. If they can get 1 more point now, they can make it, and they have 2 solos. So either 1 placement better or 1 kill, and they'll, because right now they're tied with Gamer Legions, or Gamer Legion in points. 1 more point that they're in. Boop, they get 2. Easy. So now they're guaranteed to not be relegated. N47 still has a placement to fight for, but I think in this, like at this point, it's. Did you know at that point, Minox? Did you know at that point? I don't expect you to be able to do the math. Oh, okay. Is that cheating? I don't know if it is. But did you know with this kill that you were in? I mean, one thing is you hear the crowd, but they could just be hyping for no reason. Or you didn't. Okay, because I also think that's a wrong thing to do. That, like, you always have to play it as tryhard as you possibly can until the very, very, very end, right? So just to be sure, because you could have done math. Like you could go, oh, we don't need any more points, and then they kind of fuck up and they die, and then whoops, we actually needed 1 point. Like there's so many ways that can go wrong. So just play that game as if you need all the points. Demon. Just two guys yelling. They were probably playing World of Warcraft, and they got good items or something. So the kill comes in there, and we all know at that point that was the guarantee. You kept playing slow and clearing edges. Yeah. So swipe. Well, swipe. We talked about it. Pendulum. Swipe. Wait for the next circle, and then swipe according to that next shift. So with this next shift, you can now start swiping a bit further. We see it so many times, and it's exactly how it is. One more kill. Solo, and 4 guys in the building. I must say, knowing N47, I would have thought that with this shift, that they would have pushed earlier. Because you can see, they are the ones that take out 2 players from reciprocity, I believe. With this shift, I would have either pushed to the ridge here, either pushed to the ridge here, or pushed down the hill here. That's what a team like FaZe would do even when they get the circles. They realize we cannot get pinned in. So push up to the ridge line here, or push down behind the ridge line here, so you can go around, make a play that way, or you can make a play over this way. But they decided to stay, and that was a little surprising to me, actually. I would have thought that that N47 would have pushed out, because then when this circle comes, it might be too late, right? They're still staying. They can make that exact same play to manage, to make sure to not be, what do you call it? To make sure to not be contained in the compound. But they decide to stay instead. And now they have no, now they push out, but it's kind of too late because Ratio Edge is already taking full control of all of this. They could have been out earlier and had this spot, and then they could have contained Ratio Edge to this. But because they don't push out before now, they don't really have a whole lot to play from. Just one of those small things. Now Ratio Edge get the circle. Monkey is on the northern side. N47 has to push in, and you can see they're just playing passive. Just hold your perimeter. Don't let them come any further. You know you have the star, so just hold off and don't over-aggress. 1 down. Coulter goes down. Oh. And N47 wins, but Ratio Edge also won. In their own sense. They succeeded in doing what they were hoping to do. I guess you could put it that way. Really wanted. Linking my bones, some beautiful orange bathrooms. I really hope. Well, guys, that was PEL. That was PEL. Let's just take a we can take a look at the final leaderboard. Phase 3 teams. I think this is how it looks. That's your leaderboard. Ratio Edge end up jumping up by 6 points to the bottom. And yeah, team with most kills, FaZe. Team with most knocks, Liquid. Huh. FaZe stole almost 30 kills. Team with most damage per game, FaZe. The team that traveled the most on average per game, Crow Crowd. Whoa, who would have thought? Who would have thought it was Crow Crowd? The team that on average survived the longest per game, FaZe. And then for player stats, the person with the most kills, Adusi. The person with the most knocks, Uber. The person with the best average placement, what? Navi had the highest average placement? Oh yeah. Oh, well, they were tied with FaZe. Okay, they were tied at 7.4. That's interesting. Yeah, he was. This would include the promo, so we can't really just go to summary. Most damage per game, Uber averaged 300 per game. That's actually kind of interesting because normally, yeah, I guess 300. Anything over 300 is a good game damage-wise. So averaging 300. The player who, on average, On average, Timmy rotated 3 kilometers more per game than Uber did. Oh, wait, no, that's not true. Oh, I thought it said 3,000. It said 5,000. Okay, that makes so much more sense. I was like, how the fuck did that, how can that even be? Well, it's 5,000. Okay, so he still rotated on average 1.2 kilometers more per game than they did. Uber was also the player who survived the longest, but only by a couple of seconds to Adusi. Interesting. But guys, if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed the content. I'm looking forward to hopefully do this again in the seasons to come. So thank you so much for tuning in, and see you in the next season.